Dog food. I can't think of another subject within dog training or dog husbandry that has people divided into so many directions as the question is, what should I feed my dog? You're, as a nutritionist, that say I must be feeding them this, but your vet says, actually that's quite dangerous for your dog, you should be feeding the stuff we sell in the foyer. Your behaviourist said we should be feeding this. Your TV says you should be feeding something way more convenient than that, and oh my goodness, no. So what I'm not going to do in this video is tell you what you should be feeding your dog, and I won't be making you feel bad for what you feed your dog already. What I will be doing is giving you 5 tips or 5 considerations that if you did want to look at changing what you feed your dog, or just want to look at what you're feeding your dog, you're going to be able to look at your dog's diet in a more informed way. At the end of this video, I will be showing you what I feed my dogs, but first of all, let's get into that first consideration. Number 1, what is dog food anyway? Let's be real, dog food is a convenience product for humans. It makes our life easier. The dog's evolutionary journey from wolf to dog was fueled by our food, by what we left behind, what we didn't want to eat, our waste, the nutrients our bodies didn't process in the form of... Okay, let's not talk about that. But that does explain some pretty nasty behaviours, doesn't it? When dogs came to live with us, they ate what we ate until one bright spark invented Sprat dog cake. This was the first thing that you could buy to feed your dogs that wasn't human food. And it had absolutely next to zero nutritional value for dogs. And looking at a lot of the back of packets nowadays, not a lot has changed in some of the brands. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you're a bad person because your chosen dog food is convenient. Convenience is good, but we should think about a bit of balance sometimes. Second consideration, diversity. No, not those guys, but as in a variety of different foods. Not only is it really boring, can you imagine being fed the same thing day in and day out for 10, 15 more years. Not only is it boring, giving them the same thing all the time isn't very healthy and isn't very good for their behaviour. Inside your dog's stomach, and inside yours incidentally as well, are bacteria. Bacteria that thrive on diversity and they form little colonies. This is your dog's microbiota. The quality and the diversity of food is essential for giving your dog a healthy gut. And not only a healthy gut, the stomach is connected directly to the brain via the vagus nerve. A fun fact for you, the biggest collection of neurons in the body, outside of the brain, is in the stomach. This is why people call the stomach the second brain. So, diverse quality food equals a diverse microbiome, which equals a healthy gut, which equals a happy, healthy dog. A good diet will affect your dog's behaviour. Number 3, the power of veg. Vegetables are extremely healthy for your dog. I'm very surprised how some people don't even consider this. Like, oh, my dog wouldn't eat a vegetable. Well, try and encourage them to. Most vegetables are fantastically healthy for your dog. Some need a little help in getting those nutrients out, so some may need lightly cooking, the harder vegetables. Some, like broccoli, I tend to cut or grate really finely. Some vegetables aren't very useful to our dogs at all, like potatoes. Dogs have very little to no nutritional value for carbohydrates. So have a look at your dog food. If it's full of carbohydrates, is that nutritional or is that a cost-cutting bulking up? Now we know highly processed food causes cancer, and we know that cancer in dogs is absolutely sky high at the moment. So is there a correlation? Now I'm going to put a link to a TED talk in the description, and this TED talk talks about a study where they take dogs that are fed kibble, and for 2 days only in the week they take 25% of that kibble out and replace it with fresh green vegetables. Now this study shows an enormous drop of the risk of cancer in the dog that were fed that amount of vegetables. Okay, number 4 are the foods we definitely shouldn't be giving our dogs because we know they're toxic. And when I say toxic, I mean highly toxic. Everything has a toxicity level if given in stupid amounts. For example, we used to think garlic was toxic for dogs. It is in stupid amounts. We now know garlic in small amounts can be beneficial to our dog's health. But we shouldn't be giving our dogs chocolate, we shouldn't be giving our dogs onions, and that includes onion gravy if you're going to be giving your dog some Sunday dinner. And we shouldn't be giving our dogs things like grapes and raisins. Now if you're concerned about giving your dog something you don't know if it's toxic for them or not, the information is widely out there. Just give it a search. My Bible for this kind of thing is a book called The Forever Dog. Okay, so number 5, let's consider the different types of dog food. Let's look at the pros and cons for each. So number 1 is kibble. That's your dry dog food, highly processed food. So, I mean, cons, cancer. Pros, Convenience, yay! But not all dry foods are considered equal, so at the end of this I'll show you how to tell the difference. Okay, wet food. So this is the stuff you can find in tins or sachets or the new plastic trays which are very popular at the minute. So there's a huge spectrum of quality within this. So pros, your dog will probably prefer wet food to dry food. My dogs definitely would. There is potential for quality, better quality. So potentially not as highly processed as kibble, but there is potential for a lot of processed stuff. Cons, preservatives. Okay, so let's be real about this. This isn't fresh food, even if the packet says so. Even if the meat content is quite high, you can't take meat, store it out of the refrigerator for multiple years. It's going to be full of preservatives. Okay, so next up is freshly cooked food. Now this could be cooked by a company, frozen and then sent to you, or this could be a homemade meal made by yourself. So the pros for freshly cooked, frozen and sent to you by a company, convenience, much more convenient than making it yourself, and hopefully it's a decent recipe full of fresh food, but do check. Cons, you're going to have to give up some freezer space, and potentially they're going to be more expensive than the previous things on this list. The cons for freshly cooked homemade food is inconvenience. It's going to take you a while to cook that stuff, and you're going to need to do your research to make sure your dog is getting everything they need out of their meal. Pros, you're going to know exactly what's going into your dog's stomach. So our final food type is raw food. Now this is a controversial one. Behaviourists tend to love it, vets tend to hate it, obviously with exceptions. And I think it's because it's a bit like your homemade, freshly cooked food. I think they've seen it gone wrong too many times. Meat that's not been stored correctly, making dogs ill. Dogs that just haven't been given a balanced diet because they haven't researched the food correctly. They've just gone to YouTube and found some idiot who thinks he knows what he's talking. But seriously though, whether you decide to feed your dog raw or even cook your own fresh dog meals, you're going to have to think about storage. You're going to have to store it for home cooked. You're going to have to store about cooking it properly and cooling it properly. For raw, storing it properly and making sure it's fresh. And for both options, you're going to need to make sure your dog's getting everything they need. So with either of these options, really get involved in it. Talk to a nutritionist, get a book or something. Really do a deep dive and have fun with it. Now for all of these options, if you're not preparing your own dog's food and you're buying it from a company, you're still going to want to make sure those ingredients are quality and the balance is right. So here's a tip. Here's a website all about dog food. The link is in the description. This website will compare any dog food on the market in the UK and compare them against nutritional value and price. And trust me, it's not always the price that determines the nutritional value. Okay, so this is that website all about dog food. We can see what's in the food we're feeding our dogs. And if you can't afford the best of the best dog food, don't feel bad about it. I found a really, really good quote from Dr. Connor Brady, who wrote a book called Feeding Dogs, and he said you should feed your dog the very best food that you can afford. So we're going to look through this. So let's have a look at Asda. This is Asda's own complete dog food. As you can see, it's got a 20% rating for nutrition here. It's really cheap to feed your dog, and it is absolutely full of carbohydrates. 90% of it is carbohydrates, and less than 10% is meat. And when it says meat, we've got including 4% chicken and meat and animal derivatives. Lovely. Let's have a look at Royal Canin. Much more expensive, but still not really great on the nutrition side of things. Let's go down to the bottom. Over half of it is carbohydrates, and there we go, 13%, just over nearly 14% meat. And let's have a look at something like Nutro. Much higher rating, still full of carbs, 31%, loads more meat content, but these are just three I pretty much picked at random. So if you want to know what's in your food, this is the website to check out. But also, if you're on a budget and you want to check out the best nutrition for your money, this is what I would be looking at. If I was feeding my dogs any of these meals, I'd definitely be adding in some vegetables. I'll be adding in the occasional egg every now and again, maybe a tin of sardines. Just some really healthy stuff that isn't very expensive. So here's the thing I really want you to leave with. Consider that unlike you, your dog has no control of its diet. It is completely controlled by you, so whatever you feed your dog, make sure you've done it with a little bit of consideration. Now, I did promise I'd tell you what I feed my dogs, and it's a bit of a mixture. Generally, for convenience, I use butternut box, which is freshly cooked, frozen, sent to me. My dogs really love it, particularly one of them is really, really fussy. This is not a sponsored video in any way from Butternut Box, but if you did want to try it, there is a link in the description which will give you a discount. Also though, I do make them fresh cooked meals, so I will look in the supermarket and I will look in the reduced section. If there's a bit of meat that I like, I'll buy it and I'll cook the dogs fresh cooked meals as well. I don't just guess what I put in my home cooked meals either. I do use a book and I use, hang on, as if by magic, this is another book from the Forever Dog. This is their Forever Dog Life, which has recipes for home cooked meals, which is what I use. So, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's a little bit was useful. If you like it, put a thumbs up. If you think I'm full of let me know in the comments. I'll see you soon.